welcome to this week's edition of The Week That Was, where we review the top content published on whatelectricalnews.com throughout the week. ABB has won a contract worth over $50 million to supply the electrical system for Petronas' FLNG2 facility. The contract was awarded in the fourth quarter of last year by JGC Corporation, which is part of the consortium that is building the facility for Petronas along with Samsung Heavy Industries. Under the terms of the contract, ABB will support the optimization of the facility's electrical side by designing, manufacturing and supplying transformers, switchboards, motor control centers and power management systems. ABB will also manage the installation of the equipment and ensure the electrical supply is integrated with systems it is powering. Anglo Pacific, the mining royalty company, has bought a royalty interest in Narrabri Coal Project, a major thermal coal and PCI coal mine in New South Wales, operated by Whitehaven Coal, for approximately $84 million. The royalty entitles the holder to royalty payments equal to 1% of gross revenue on all coal produced from the Narrabri royalty area. Production at the Narrabri mine is expected to have been about 5.5 million tonnes in 2014, including 850,000 tonnes of PCI coal according to the Whitehaven Coal website. It has a scope to materially increase production over the short to medium term, with an estimated 22 years of mine life remaining at the Narrabri North site and potential to extend production in future through the development of Narrabri South. The Abbott government has resumed talks with Labor over the renewable energy target 3 months after they broke down. The clean energy industry has been staring down the barrel of job cuts and failed businesses since Labor quit negotiations over government plans to slash the target. A spokesman for Environment Minister Greg Hunt confirmed the government met with Labor on Thursday to reignite RET talks. The RET mandates that 20% or 41,000 gigawatt-hours of all electricity comes from renewables by the year 2020. The government wants to cut that target to about 27,000 gigawatt-hours, arguing that due to changes in electricity demand and other factors, the legislated figure would represent 27% of energy use. Hunter engineering firm Downer EDI has signed a $1 billion rail maintenance contract at a time when union officials are questioning job cuts at some of its Newcastle sites. Downer has announced that it signed a locomotive maintenance agreement with a big private rail freight operator, Pacific National. The company, which has a major base at Cardiff, says it's an ongoing contract for a further 10 years of work. CEO Grant Fenn said it was an important development for the company, providing what he calls rail asset solutions to its customers. The contract comes at a time when the Australian Manufacturing Workers Union is liaising with workers at Downer's Port Waratah and Kooragang Island sites. A former insider of state-owned power corporation Energex has given a damning assessment of staffers willing away their days while collecting pay packets far outstripping market rates. Energex whistleblower Callie Wilson has made a submission to the Federal Energy Regulator alleging a public sector mentality was racking up costs borne by consumers through their power bills. Energex staffing levels, based on my observations, are excessive for its actual needs. Ms Wilson, a former Treasury analyst before quitting last year, has told the Australian Energy Regulator of her time at Energex headquarters. Walking around the building, I saw row upon row of employees spending large amounts of their day engrossed in personal activities, while employees also spend a large part of their day in unproductive meetings. Staff are provided exceedingly generous income and benefits compared to commercial standards for the same roles. Energex staff are also virtually unsackable due to the long-standing no forced redundancy clauses. An Energex spokeswoman said that it was impossible to respond to the inefficiency claims before seeing the submission, but blamed overtime for excess staff pay. Microgrids could be a very useful tool for integrating distributed energy resources such as solar PV, backup generators, behind-the-meter batteries and other grid-edge technologies. But to share those capabilities with the grid at large, microgrid-owning customers need some kind of technology platform to connect them with utilities and grid operators and to allow them to make money while they do it. On Tuesday, Siemens became the largest grid giant to offer its own answer to this challenge in the form of its Spectrum Power 7 microgrid management system. The new platform extends Siemens' advanced distribution management software for utilities down to the level of individual microgrids, whether they're organised around campuses, communities or other discrete entities not traditionally tied into the grid control platforms. Siemens is far from alone in tackling the microgrid challenge, of course, with General Electric, ABB, S&C Electric, Toshiba and Schneider Electric just a few of the competing grid players with projects and platforms to integrate distributed energy resources in various ways. AGL will pump flowback water from its suspended Wakavori wells in Gloucester this week so government investigators can conduct testing. The testing is being conducted as a part of a joint investigation by the Environment Protection Authority and the Department of Resources and Energy into AGL's operations at Gloucester after the company informed the agencies last week that BTEX chemicals were found in water samples from one of its wells. AGL suspended work at its 4 wells voluntarily last week after it found elevated levels of BTX chemicals, but both government agencies have stated that the gas company will not be permitted to recommence activities until their concerns have been addressed. Gas giant BG Group has taken one of the biggest write-downs on an Australian resources project, lodging $8.87 billion in impairments on the recently started Queensland Curtis LNG plant, largely reflecting sharply reduced profit forecasts. While some of the pre-tax write-down was due to the sale of the project's onshore gas pipeline to APA Group, $4.1 billion of the pre-tax write-downs on QC LNG were directly due to forecast cuts to the oil gas price, with revenue from Australia's liquefied natural gas exports directly linked to global crude price. The big write-down will shine a spotlight on whether Santos and Origin Energy take hits to their rival LNG projects, Gladstone LNG and Australian Pacific LNG, when they report earnings later this month. Australian workers will lose out from a proposed short-term working visa which will serve to benefit big employers, the Australian Council of Trades Union has said. The ACTU issued a scathing response to a discussion paper on skilled migration released by the Department of Immigration and Border Protection. The group heavily criticised a proposal in the paper to introduce a new short-term mobility visa that would allow employers to hire specialised workers for up to 12 months. The Department of Social Services has released data showing that the number of Australians on long-term unemployment benefits New Start increased to the highest level on record in December 2014, with 527,000 Australians on New Start for more than a year, up by 12.7% from a year ago. The growing unemployment problem, which is only likely to worsen as the mining investment boom unwinds, highlights the gregariousness of the Abbott government's open slather approach to so-called temporary 457 work visas, which risks depriving Australians of job opportunities and adding further to the pool of under and underemployed Australians. Up to 300 jobs will go at BHP Billiton's Olympic Dam mine site in northern South Australia as the company slashes costs in response to a sharp slump in commodity prices, with copper at its lowest level since mid-2009. The Olympic Dam operations, about 560 kilometres northwest of Adelaide, employ about 4,300 people, and the latest round of restructuring mirrors the heavy cost-cutting across the mining industry as commodity prices tumble to a 5.5-year low. BHP Billiton won't give specific numbers on the jobs that will be scrapped, but confirmed last week that there would be redundancies. Industry insiders suggest that there were up to 90 BHP staff positions being abolished in the cost-cutting program, and up to 210 contractor positions earmarked as likely to go. Interstate projects have won lucrative contracts in the ACT government's wind energy auction, and local projects have missed out. The 3 projects have been awarded contracts to generate wind energy for the Territory, with wind farms to be built near Ararat and in Bendigo in Victoria, with another near Port Augusta in South Australia. The projects have been signed up to deliver 200 megawatts of wind energy to the ACT, which is enough to power 107,000 homes, or about a third of the city's needs. The wind energy auction worked as a reverse auction, asking companies to submit proposals for the supply contracts. The successful proponents had been offered a fixed feed-in tariff for 20 years. Environment Minister Simon Corbell said the winning farms were chosen to deliver the cheapest renewable energy, and said that the projects expected to result in $50 million in direct investment for the local economy and much more in indirect investment. And that's it for this week's edition of The Week That Was. Thank you.